welcome to another YouTube video. So today I'm going to show every single book on my physical TBR and non-physical TBR. I counted all of them together and I have 61 books, 61 unread books on my TBR. So I'm just going to show every single one of them, maybe talk about them a little bit, even though some of them I don't know much about. First, we are going to start with my non-physical books. So on my tablet, all the books that I'm going to show is basically non-physical. So we're going to start with this, and I think there's like 20 books, if I'm correct, on my iPad that are unread. The first book is Ace by, I don't know how to say that name. I'm just gonna put a picture because I think some of these might be backwards, so I'm also gonna like show pictures. This book, I saw so many people talking about it, and it's a Wattpad story, but I don't have Wattpad, and I was just like, let me download it and read it on my iPad. And I know this is gonna be a sad book because so many people say this book got them into reading, and that is very emotional, so I'm very excited to read. The next one is In Love with the Devil by Sky Blue. I also don't know anything about this one, but I know that it's a dark romance and a lot of people recommend it. The next one is The Grim Reaper's Lawyer by Maya Monique, if I'm saying her name right. I'm very excited to read this because if y'all know, I'm reading more Black authors this year and I'm just excited. The next one is Air of Flames by Asia Monet. This is her Cartel Element series, and this is a small author, and I'm really excited to read this book by her because I'm trying to read like more mafia romances. And the next one is Elevator Pitch by Evelyn. I'm not gonna say the last name, but all I know is that the main character is black, and this is a romance book, and I'm so excited to read this. Okay, so this next one, please don't judge me, but this is The Dragon's Bride by Kate Robert. And I know the cover is just not giving at all, but I read The Core of the Vampire Queen by her, and honestly I really liked it. Even though it was just vampire smut, I still liked it. And I'm just gonna read this one because I think this one is connected to The Core of the Vampire Queen. So the next one is The Island by Natasha Princeton. I'm trying to read more thriller books because I learned that I don't really have that many thriller books on me or like in my library, so I'm trying to read more thriller books. And so this is another thriller book, Local Woman Missing. I saw one of my favorite YouTubers or booktubers review this book and give it 5 stars, and she did like a whole vlog of her reading it, and I absolutely loved it. I think her name is Sarah, if I'm correct. I'm probably wrong, or I'm probably right, I don't know, but I'm just honestly excited to read this because I used to read so much thrillers as a kid, but then I randomly stopped one day. But okay, so the next one, I'm just gonna say it, and I'm not even gonna explain why I'm reading this book. 365 Days. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. So this one, please do not judge the cover. Again, I'm trying to support as many black authors as I can. So this next one is The Irish Dawn's Black Beauty. This is like I think a mafia romance, and honestly I'm just really excited to read it. I love mafia romances. Next one is, I think a lot of people know this one, Under the Oak Tree. This one is, I think, a manga, if I'm correct, and this one doesn't have pictures. This is just one, like a chapter book one. This one doesn't have the pictures. But honestly I don't mind if it has the pictures or not, but I'm just not really gonna like it because I already read, I think, the manga on, I think it was Webtoon, when they had it on Webtoon, and I loved it. So I'm just gonna read like the chapter book version, and I'm just honestly excited to annotate. So the next one is Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight, and honestly I don't know much about this, but I see every book talker that I follow read this book and give it like a lot of stars, so I'm just gonna read this and honestly see how it is. If I'm correct, I think this is a dark romance, so I'm honestly, and I don't mind reading dark romance, so I'm just gonna read this. So there's a lot of dark romance on this list of books, but the next one is Scream for Us by Molly Doyley. I'm probably saying her last name wrong, and I'm so sorry, but I don't know much about this, but I see this author's TikToks, and she really convinced me to read her book. And so the next one is Without Fault by, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that name, but I think her name is Janaya Bizet, if I'm correct. But I also saw this author's TikToks, and she really convinced me to read her book, and I know she's coming out with the 3rd book in the series. I have not read the 1st book, but this book is one of her most popular, so I'm gonna read this, and if I like it, I'm gonna read the 1st one and the new one that's coming out. Okay, so the next one is 50 Shades of Grey. The books, like, I know what the movies are, but I honestly I want to read the books. I don't know why I want to read the books. I just want to read the books and annotate them and see how it is and see if it compares to the movie. The next one is Immoral Cravings. I don't know how to say the author's name, but I saw this book going around on like Black Book Talk, and I know this is by like a Black author, and this is a dark fairy tale retelling. And honestly, I love like retelling books of like them retelling sort of like fairy tales, if that makes sense. And I'm just again excited to read this. I'm excited to read every book on this list. So I don't know how to pronounce this title or like say the name, but this is the book, and this is a mafia romance, and this is also by a Black author. So I don't really know much about it, but I see it all over TikTok. And this is another one that I don't know much about, but all I know is it's a mafia romance, and it's about like it's by a Black author, and a lot of people recommend it. With this book, I was watching a TikTok, and the girl was like, and you know those TikToks where it's like he's a 10 but, and they show like books, and specifically dark romance books, and they be like, for example, he's a 10 but he kidnaps her. So, but not in this book. I don't think he kidnaps her. I don't know. But this one is Crawl by Adrienne Rush, if I'm saying her name right. And I got recommended this video, or no, not video, this book from a video like that where it's like he's 10 but, and honestly I'm excited to read this. This book, there are actually 2 books in the series I'm going to show. So the first one is Bad Guy by Kanya Gorbel, if I'm saying her name right. This is the first book. I don't know much about the first book, but the second book I do know a lot about, and it's Easy Like Sunday Morning by the same author. And I heard so much more about this book, and I think this is a dark romance. I'm not sure, because when people describe it, it sounds like a really dark romance. And honestly, I'm just so excited to read these 2 books, but specifically Easy Like Sunday Morning. Okay, so this book, I remember when I first saw this book, I really wanted to read it for so long, but I never got to it. And I remember this book was so popular on Black Book Talk, and this one is, I think, Ralph by, I don't even know how to pronounce this author's name, but this book was so popular. Like, I want to say, if I'm correct, back in 2020 Book Talk, I don't know, but I literally used to get recommended this all the time. So I'm gonna read this and see how it is. The next one is Coach Me by Shanor Williams, and honestly I'm excited to read this romance book because I love forbidden romances. Okay, so this next one is Pastor Sage. This was originally a Wattpad book, but then it went to a Kindle Unlimited book, and I see like one of my favorite TikTokers talk about this book and recommended it, so I'm gonna read it and see how it is. This one is one of my most anticipated reads, and I wanted to read this book for so long. My camera's shaking, but it's Dirty Kisses by Kanya Wright. This is, I think, her Cat and Mouse series, and I am so excited to start this series. Like, I haven't even read it and already know it's gonna be a 5 stars because this is also a Black author, and the main character in the book is Black. So, and it's also a mafia romance. This next one is Alpha by Tanya Rain, and the only reason I know about this book is because I remember I saw a book talker that I watched like years ago do a vlog of her like reading this book, and she loved it. And honestly, I'm gonna read it. I wanted to read this too for years, but I never got around to it. But now I'm gonna read it this year, hopefully. This next one is a smut book, and this one is like a random read because I saw like a TikToker recommend this book, and it is Sugar Daddies by Jade West. And all I know is that it's spicy, and a lot of people love it and recommend it, so I'm gonna read it. So that is all of the digital books or like non-physical books. Now I'm going to get into the actual like physical books on my physical TBR that I have to read. Okay, so I have so many of them laying right here, so I'm just going to start from this way. So the first one is The Things We Never Got Over. I don't know much about this book. All I know is that it's like a 500 plus page romance, and one of my friends on TikTok recommended it, and I actually had this on my shelf for a while. So when I saw she made like a video about it, I was like, I'm gonna read this year. So the next one is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I think Wild Side just came out, and I want to read this series, and this is like, I think, my first ever cowboy romance too, so I'm so excited to read this because Elsie Silver is like really popular now in 2025. And I don't know, I got this actually I think for my birthday, and I still haven't read it. So I just know I'm gonna like it because I'm a huge romance girly. So these two are actually two books in a series. The first one is American Royalty. This is by a Black author. And the second book in the series is Duchess Effect. And let me explain to you why this is in large print. It's because I got this from Book Outlet, and they only had it in large print, but it was on sale for $5.99. So honestly, I don't mind that the book is in large print if it was only for $5.99. But I'm so excited to read both these books because the main character is a Black woman, and I love books where the main character is a Black woman. The next one everybody knows, and it is really popular. It is Binding 13. I cannot wait to get into this series and start reading it. But look at how like long and big this book is. Like, but I just know I'm gonna love this, and I'm gonna read this really fast because when I really love a book, it like goes by that fast. This one is really popular on TikTok, and everybody knows this author and the series, the ACOTAR series, specifically The Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I cannot wait to get into this series because this series is so talked about on TikTok that it's just like you have to read it because it's so talked about. The next one is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I have not read Love Hypothesis or Love on a Brain because I didn't know it was a series. I thought these were like standalones until I found out that it was like an interconnected series. But honestly, if I like this one, I'm gonna read Love on a Brain and Love Hypothesis. The next one is Hooked, and from what I know, this is a dark romance book, and it's like a Peter Pan retelling, but the villain gets the girl. So then these two are actually in a series. This is Anna Huang's King of Sin series, specifically King of Greed and King of Sloth, and I already read King of Wrath and King of Pride and loved both of them, so I can't wait to finish the series. But the fourth one isn't the last book. King of Envy is coming out soon, and when I tell you, I am so excited to read King of Envy because the main character is Black. I want to keep saying that. I love Black main characters. Okay. The next one is a hockey romance, The Deal. The only reason I'm starting, I got this book for my birthday, but again, the only reason I'm starting the series is because I know it's coming out as a series on Netflix, and I want to at least try and read the books before I watch the series, because I have a habit of watching the series before I read the books. And I feel like when series or like books are put into an adaptation, it's like you don't get as much details about the characters from the series until you read the books. Okay, the next one, everybody knows this one, Better Than the Movies. I'm so excited to read this. I love YA romances, but I'm so excited to read this. It is a little bit dent right here. I don't know if y'all can see that, but honestly, it doesn't really bother me. But I'm so excited to read this, and there's not many pages in here, but I already know I'm gonna love it. This one is Daydream by Hannah Grace, and this is her Maple Hill series. I have not read Icebreaker or Wildfire because for some reason those books get hated on, so I'm like, okay, if I like this one, because this is her like most popular one, so I'm like, if I like this one, I'm gonna read Icebreaker and Wildfire. This one, everybody also knows this one, If He Had Been With Me. I have not read it. This one's really popular on TikTok, and a lot of people say it's make them cry, but honestly, I never had a book make me cry. I only had like movies and like TV shows make me cry, so if this can make me cry, it's a 5 stars, okay? Because it's like, I'm a sensitive person, but it is so hard for like basically words on paper to make me cry. So the next one is The Way I Am Now. Fun fact, I am reading The Way I Used to Be. This is how much like I have annotated, and I'm on page 16, well actually 17 right now, and so far I'm reading this and everybody's making me mad, and I feel so bad for Eden, if I'm saying her name right, but everybody's making me mad. And this is my like annotation key. I don't know if I can see that or not. I probably cannot read that because it's probably backwards, and these are my tabs. I'm just getting into annotating, and so far I'm loving it, okay? But I'm just hoping in this book nobody makes me mad, literally. So the next one is Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This is my first ever book by Penelope Douglas, and I'm so scared to read this because I think Penelope Douglas writes mostly dark romances or like really smutty books. So I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this because I hear so many mixed opinions about this series specifically and all her other books. But I'm honestly just gonna see how it is, and I just can't wait to annotate it because look at how pretty these colors are in the cover. People also said this is really sad, Archer's voice, and from what I know, I think he's deaf, if I'm correct. I don't really know much about this book. All I know is that it's like a sad romance, and I see people cry about this book too. I also don't know much about, but I got this like off of Book Outlet's 5.99 sale, and this Pen Pal by JT. I don't know how to say her last name, but I don't know much about this. All I know is I think this is like a dark romance, and from what I know, when I hear people talk about this book, they say there's a big plot twist in the book, and I'm just really intrigued to know what it is. And yeah, also the cover, I'm not a big fan of like shirtless men on the cover, but I'm honestly just gonna give this book a chance. This one I had sitting on my shelf for like 2 years now and still have not read it. Or like I think 3 years now, I don't know. It's Ash Princess, and I have not read this. This has just been sitting on my shelf. I have not picked this book up or touched it yet, and honestly I'm determined to read it this year because I was on TikTok and I saw a quote from this book, and that quote really made me want to read this book now, and I'm just really excited. And there's not that many pages. There's only like 300 and something pages, or 400 and something, and I'm really excited to read this. And first off, the cover, I think the cover is the reason I got this book, because the covers in this series or trilogy, yeah, this is a trilogy, but the covers in this trilogy is so beautiful, and I would like, the covers is what attracted me to this series. Okay, this author, I absolutely love all of her books, and all of her books just stand out to me, and they're YA, and they're so perfect. By Nicola Yoon. I read everything by her. 5 stars. I watched the movie. Movie was also awesome, but this is The Sun Is Also a Star. I already watched the movie, but after I read everything, I wanted this book right here. Wanted this book. But then I also want her other book, Dance Instructions. But from now on, I'm literally on a book buying ban until I can finish all 61 of these books. Even on my digital iPad, until I can finish all of my books, I'm going to buy more. Both of these books are by Stephanie Garber, Caraval, and Once Upon a Broken Heart. And Caraval, I hear so much about this book, and I'm already excited to read because, like, do y'all see that cover? And she's a lovely author, and all of her books just intrigue me so much. And a lot of people say this gives off like, what's that one song by Melanie Martinez? Carousel. Yes, that's one song I hear from her. But then, oh, I was supposed to turn that off. But then Once Upon a Broken Heart, I'm not gonna read this until, because a lot of people say to read Caraval before you read this, so I'm gonna read Caraval. But then also in this like trilogy, the 3rd book is still in hardcover, so I'm gonna wait until the 3rd book comes back in paperback so I can have the whole series in paperback. This next one is, I also got this off of Book Outlet for their 5.99 sale. It's What Beauty There Is by Corey Anderson. It's a novel, and I don't know much about this book, but when I read the synopsis, it was giving like If He Had Been With Me and Archer's Voice. Not saying that that's the same. I haven't even read those 2 books yet, but this is what this book is giving. And do y'all see the covers? Like, I can't wait to annotate this. And plus, from what I know, this is a sad book too, and I'm pretty sure this book is gonna make me cry because the synopsis just is like perfect. Is Unsteady by Peyton Corbin, if I'm saying her name right. First off, the cover is beautiful. This is like, I think, my first ever, no, this isn't my first hardcover romance because I already have like 2 hardcover romances here, but I don't know much about this book at all I know is it's a romance, and yeah, it's a hockey romance. I don't know much about this book. So this one I also got off of Book Outlet's 5.99 sale. It's Vanessa Jarrett's Got a Man. First off, again, the cover. All these covers are so beautiful, but look at the colors on this cover. And I don't know much about this book, but I know this book is by a Black author. And again, supporting Black authors this 2025. And also, it's a very short book. And I'm just excited to read this. And the synopsis of this book, absolutely amazing. I don't know if y'all can see it, but the synopsis, really made me want to get this book. And I saw one of my favorite book talkers talk about this book. The thing with this book, I had this book on my shelf for like 2 years, and it's The Gilded Wolves. I have not started it. Like, I don't know, I got it because one of them is I love like YA books where it's just like there's games, puzzles, mysteries. I love stuff like that. But it's like, for some reason, I don't remember why I got this book at all. But I'm determined to read it this year because like the synopsis sounds so interesting, but I still have not picked it up, and it's been on my shelf for 2 years now, and I'm determined to read it this year, hopefully. So the next one is Canadian Boyfriend. Also, this is a hockey romance. I don't know much about this book. Actually, I do. I know she's a teacher and he's a hockey player, and I think he's a single dad too. But I'm just excited to read this because look at the cover. First off, pink everything, and I got this for like $5.99, and all I know is it's a rom-com. I think it's a slow burn, I'm not sure. So this next one is Unrealistic Expectations. I don't know much about this one, but this is a very short book, but I'm determined to read it. I literally don't know anything about this, but I don't know. I just wanted to read it. It really looked interesting to me, so I bought it. This next one is Dating Dr. Deal. I think this is one of my favorite book talkers. I think her name is Larry Reeds, if I'm correct. I think she has read this book before and reviewed it, and I got it. And also it was on Book Outlet for sale, so like I'm literally a Book Outlet warrior. Whenever I see they have a sale, I will be buying from them. But this is also like a very short book, and I'm just excited to read this because I saw one of my favorite book talkers talk about it and give it 5 stars. So these next 2 books was actually my most recent purchases. Oh my god. But this first one is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. First off, look how huge this book is. I'm in no rush to read this at all because this is a huge book. It's going to take my sanity to read this book, okay? I don't know much about it, but all I know is that it's really popular, and I'm excited to read this. And a lot of people say the spice in the book is good, so... And also the cover intrigued me a lot. This next book I had like on my shelf for like 1 year. It's almost there. I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, but this is like a Princess and the Frog retelling. If Princess Tiana had said yes to the Voodoo Man's deal, I think. That's what it's about. Yeah, I think that's what it's about. I don't know. But it's a retelling. It's kind of like a what if. You know, what if this had happened? What if this has happened? What if Princess Tiana's dad never had passed away? You know what I mean? And then the next book is The Hate U Give. I have had this book on my shelf. I started reading it, but then I was on like page, I don't know what page I was on, but I started reading it, but I never finished it. And I'm determined to finish this book because everybody and their mother has read this book but me. So I'm determined to read this, and now that I'm just getting into annotating, I'm going to reread this and annotate it. But the movie, the Hate U Give movie, was so good, and I recommend it 100%. So that was all the books for today, and these are all the books on my 2025 TBR that I'm determined to finish, okay? And, you know, if you see any books on this TBR you recognize or have read, you know, comment down below or follow. Or subscribe. And not follow, subscribe. And I'm also on a book buying ban until I can finish every single one of these books, okay? Until I finish all of these, I'm not buying any more books. Actually, let me not say that because I'm literally addicted to buying books. Like, it's really bad. But that is the end of this video, and thank you for watching if you're here. And if you're coming from my last video, thank you for watching my last video, and bye bye.